Back again. This is the Book Tender. My name is Devin. Welcome back. Thank you for being here. I'm glad to be back. Berto's with us over here. You can maybe hear him tippy tapping. And this is long awaited, much anticipated, part 2 of the JASAD HEIR. We're finishing it. To recap quickly, we have Sylvia, aka Asiya, the secret heir to JASAD, a now destroyed kingdom that was destroyed by Nitzal. Its family, her family, was murdered during something called the Blood Summit that took place 10 years before the start of this story. The Blood Summit was hugely impactful. It kicked off this invasion of JASAD. JASAD as a country was the only country out of these, or territory kingdom out of these, 5 kingdoms that still had magic. It was razed to the ground by Nitzal, and everybody in the JASAD royal family died that day, including Asiya, the young heir, but actually she survived, and she now lives in Omal, one of the neighboring countries. She lives as a poor kind of chemist's apprentice, orphaned on her own, like other JASADis, has magic, but she is unable to access that magic because of cuffs that are on her wrists that were placed there by her grandparents, who then were murdered in the Blood Summit, kind of caught up to where we went through in the past. She has been roped into a deal with the Nitzal heir, who's going to have her fight as his champion in this tournament called the Akala, and he was able to do that because even though she doesn't have magic, she then did use the magic in front of him, and that's outlawed by Nitzal. And so instead of taking her and basically putting her through a sham trial and then executing her, he's giving her the chance to eventually have her freedom at the end of this tournament if she fights for him. But we don't know exactly why he needs her to fight for him. And he doesn't know that she is the heir. He just knows that she's a JASADi. And his name is Aaron, and I dislike him strongly. Okay. We're entering into this middle section of the book where there's this kind of long training period, which I really didn't like because I thought it wasn't that interesting. I didn't feel like there was that many developments to the core plot. Plus, it's this period of time where we are spending so much time, again, normalizing, humanizing Aaron of Nitzal and his Nitzal guards, who, again, by my reading, are really, really bad people because Nitzal is a really bad kingdom that commits horrendous, atrocious acts against other people in the kingdom, including its own people at some points, it seems, by the actual text of the book, but most definitely anybody who lives in or anybody who remains from JASAD, any JASADis. If they find out that you are a JASADi, they will kill you either on sight or after a sham trial. But everybody who they find who's a JASADi, everybody's dying. It could have been a really interesting character study. There's some elements about Sylvia's character that are interesting, such as the fact that she does have this reluctance to take part in what is ostensibly her inheritance as the heir. That is now, it seems, pretty much off the table because JASAD doesn't even exist. But she has very little to no interest. I mean, it's kind of like, ebbs, or not even ebbs. It's not clear. I would say at times the author made it sound like one way versus another, but she has no interest in even helping JASAD or any remaining JASADi people, because there are, it sounds like, a fair number of JASADi people who just exist in and have moved into these other neighboring kingdoms who are living in secret, much like Abel, the old man who was murdered by the Nitzal guards in front of her. She has no interest in helping these people, or, she's not motivated by revenge necessarily. She, by all accounts, it seems like, is most motivated by the opportunity to get out to just find her own freedom, even though, what she is agreeing to why she's agreeing to Aaron's proposal to fight in the Alcala Forum is because he promises her that at the end she'll have her freedom. She'll have resources, she'll have guards if she wins from various kingdoms that will take her wherever. She will basically be set up to be able to truly put the past behind her and like start a new life. But I think any time that somebody from an oppressive government has told one of the singular figures who they're trying to get to help them, hey, by the end of this, you'll get away free, even though their explicit mission is to continue to destroy people like that never works out. And I don't know why she would be so willing to even believe Aaron. So it's kind of weird, because it's like sometimes she says, I would never sell out my own people, but then other times she says, I'm here of my own free will, I just want freedom, and this is my way, this is my ticket to do it, your option is my ticket to do it. It's like, first off, that's really cowardly, and that is an interesting character study, I guess, because it is interesting to have a character who is like not interested in responsibility that comes with and the difficult choices. But she's not even not doing that. She's like she's not willing to even help her people at all, and very quickly seems to act disdainful towards her own people just based off of the information that she's given from Aaron of Nitzal, again, the commander of the forces that are working against her people. So it's just like, I'm so confused. It feels like there's something I'm missing. Like I somehow have missed something explicit that other people are seeing that that's making them love this story, because it makes me furious. Anyways, back to the plot. They're in this underground worn tunnels. There's a lot of, right now it's basically her, Aaron, and his guards. There's a bunch of different guards. I honestly didn't give a shit about the guards. I didn't want to learn their names. I didn't want to learn anything about them. We are given so much information about these guards. So much information about like why they were recruited into the military and like what circumstances as Nitzalans and people who grew up in Nitzal, why they ended up in this position they're in. It's just like, again, I'm not interested personally in knowing a bunch of information about all of these people who are committing atrocious acts. In Star Wars, I don't want to spend all of my time only with stormtroopers and understanding why all of the stormtroopers are doing what they're doing. One stormtrooper, great. Who's conflicted? Great. That's interesting. And to see that person maybe have conflicting emotions or have conflicting behavior in the environment surrounded by the other stormtroopers who are acting much more consistently with what we would expect from those characters. That makes sense. That's like an interesting tension to witness. But that's not what we're getting here. We're getting one person dropped into an environment with a ton of stormtroopers, and we're spending a bunch of time being like, see, these stormtroopers aren't so bad. They're just, they're like letting people die a lot or actively committing to their murder, but they like to make jokes sometimes. Case in point, Wes glanced at Jeru, his mouth pinched. You're kind, have an attunement to nature. I nodded, somber. Of course. Most mornings, the sun, I call her Beatrice, actually, taps my shoulder and invites me to tea with her in the mountains. She's quite the gossip. Tragically, however, I don't know how well my attunement will hold against several layers of dirt and stone. The cough Jeru stifled in his fist skirted suspiciously close to a laugh. If Wes soured anymore, they could squeeze him over a broth. It's just... First off, Beatrice is my grandmother's name. How dare you? Get my grandma's name out of your mouth. Second, that wasn't funny at all. Maybe in a very different situation, that kind of joke would have some humor, but like, I don't understand why we're doing this humor when she should fucking hate these guys. It's weird, it's juvenile, it's very young adults, like, which I actually think that young adult novels are great in a lot of ways, and sometimes we can get some of the most interesting characterization from young adult novels out of the characters in them. But this isn't a young adult novel. She's not supposed to be 17, 16. She's supposed to be 21, 20. It just, the characterization, the dynamic, it was weird, and it felt very tone deaf to me based off of actually the circumstances that we're in with these characters. There's also a ton of inconsistencies about her own, again, we're in her first person point of view, her own reporting on the status of her magic and who knows what about her. Recent exceptions aside, I didn't have magic, and only Rory knew my true name. You do have magic. You do have magic. You have cuffs that are preventing you from using your magic, and clearly not very well. You've now used it at least twice. You also don't know that it's only Rory who knows your true name. I don't even understand why you would believe that to be the case, because he says he knew it was you right away the second that you showed up, and he wasn't even from JASAD. He was not even a JASADi. He just went there a couple times for work. Why would you believe that only he knows? Why would you not think, hey, this guy recognized me right away. He knows. He's known for 5 years. There's a great chance that other people know. And I should actually be really probably even more concerned, or that should be something that's on my mind. No. She does make an escape attempt. Thank God. The one thing that I felt validated seeing her do during this period of time is that she does make an escape attempt. She's again, they're in an underground kind of pit. They get into it through what seems like a hole in the ground in the forest. She's able to get out there. She gets up to the forest. It's dark, it's raining. She sees a tree, and whittled into that tree is the number 1822. It floors her. She's shocked. This black puddle seeps out. A specter forms, and it's the decaying, rotting corpse of Hanim, the previous Qaeda of JASAD, who was also the woman who basically took her after the events of the Blood Summit. We don't really know exactly how they ended up together, just the two of them, into Assam woods, and essentially was training her for 5 years, from when she was 10, when the Blood Summit happened, her family was murdered, to when she was 15, after she killed Hanim. Hanim basically tortured her in the woods for 5 years, trying to get her magic to express. Very similar situation to what we're dealing with here. And yet, for 5 years, even though the glimpses that we get of what Hanim put her through were so terrible, somehow during that whole time, nothing, as is reported in the text, not a drop of magic comes through, no expression of magic. But then in this time, it starts to come out pretty frequently over not nearly as terrifying experiences. That really didn't make sense at all. And it's crazy. It's crazy that we just hand wave that away. She is put through horrific experiences. She's going through talk about grief and rage. Her whole family's just been murdered. She's lost everything. During all of the period of that, right after, nothing. No peep of the magic. She's basically being tortured out there by somebody that she kind of trusted. Nothing. She eventually murders this woman because of how bad the treatment is. Nothing. It's a specter. It's Hanim's corpse. It's rotting. It's screaming in her face. And we realize that this voice in her head, this negative voice that has been criticizing her in her head, is Hanim's voice. And that's who she's hearing in her head from these 5 years that she spent with her. So obviously, really, really, really bad things happened. Somehow, no magic. Basically, she realizes that the specter is not literally a ghost, I guess, that this must be some kind of magic. Another JASADi must be close by that's doing this. But somehow it goes away, and she's out in the woods, and she's still kind of running. She lost a lot of time, obviously, because this thing was looming over her and she was on the ground. And then she hears Aaron and his men, his guards. So she's running. She runs. They're getting really close. She ends up trying to climb a tree at the edge of this kind of bankment, and leading down to a river. She's running up. She climbs this tree, and then Aaron's there. And it's basically just him, not his guards. He's on his horse, and pretty much immediately finds her, even though she's scaled up this tree. But he just starts stabbing her. She starts stabbing her with daggers. She's in a tree. At one point, he climbs the tree next to her, and then he gets on the saddle. He's standing on the saddle of his horse, stabs her. She's losing blood. She's bleeding out. She's like on this tree. And then it's on this cliffside. She basically scoots out onto the edge of this branch and then she like drops down. So she's just hanging by one arm with these bleeding out from these wounds. She says that if she passes out, she'll die. And she uses this as an opportunity to negotiate with Eren. Turns out that there's not just one JASAD rebel group after her specifically. There's two. There's the Mufsids and the Urabi. And they're after her, and he's after them, so he's using her as bait. But he promises her if she wins, she'll have independent guards, she'll be free, she'll be able to leave. Because, of course, you should really trust this fucking guy. And so they make this agreement. She passes out anyways, and he jumps to catch her, and they both go over the side of the cliff. Randomly, the next chapter is from Eren's point of view. There's a little bit of dual point of view here in this book. Me personally, I don't need dual point of view in these kind of like fantasy romantasy stories. If it's done well, that's great. Sometimes I really like it, but I don't need it. I kind of find tons of chapters where the male love interest is like in his head swooning about how much he loves the other girl to be kind of cringy sometimes, or just elongating the book for no reason, and I'd rather go back to like the plot. This one, there's a couple chapters I didn't think that they added really much of anything at all. They survived the fall. He was able to catch her. She's immediately starting to heal herself even though she's knocked out. I don't know anymore. Your guess is as good as mine when it comes to these powers, man. I don't know. It's so confusing. But she's like knocked out, but still healing herself. But then when they try to help her, she's struggling, but she's not like lucid. And so our hero, our boy Eren, punches her in the fucking face. Just, I don't even know what type of fall would initiate a situation where you are out, you're knocked out, but you're also able to struggle when people come near you. Like, when you get knocked out, it's not like you have a version where you just go to sleep and you're able to have like dreams. You get knocked out, or you're somewhat aware, usually. Yeah, I don't know. It was just, I think, a reason to have him punch her in the face, because this is a true enemies to lovers. The next day, they're back in the tunnels. She did not successfully escape, obviously, but she wakes up pissed because she wakes up with a big black eye because he punched her in the face. And again, there's more attempts at banter that just for me fall flat, and more discussion about what Eren's explicit purpose with having her during this training is, which is to coax out her magic. He can sense it. We don't really understand. I really don't understand why he can do that. There's a quote, "I sense magic because I am immune to it, and I can drain the magic from a JASAD with the same touch that seems to ignite yours." Why? Some important stuff that we realized. The third trial, because there's going to be 3 trials in the Alcala, the third trial is going to be in Nitzal. So she will have to go to Nitzal as an undercover JASAD, and also the undercover JASAD heir. And she will also have to meet Supreme Rawain in person. That's Eren's father, and also the man who killed her family. There's, again, lots of interactions between her and these guards, the stormtroopers. And one particular, his name is Vaughn. He's a hateful dick. He hates her. He's horrible to her. He is very Jack Barlow from Fourth Wing Coded, just like wants to see her fail. Actually doesn't even just want to see her fail. He wants to hurt her. He wants to harm her. He's like looking for opportunities to attack her. And at one point in the halls, he like corners her, it's just them, and he baits her by like touching her waist, and she freaks out. There's a scuffle, and then they both he ends up taking her to Eren's private chambers in these halls. And Eren like reprimands him for touching her and sends him away. There's a moment again where Sylvia acts like a complete and total senseless human being, even though she's an undercover heir with undercover magic who really should be hot, like she should be on alert, minding her fucking business right now. She just acts like an absolute idiot. It's her and Eren in his private chambers alone. Eren's into maps. This is apparently his cute little quirky personality trait. He's into maps. You know, he's like a murderer, but he's like also a little bit of a nerdy map guy. She asked him why he defended her in the situation with Vaughn that just happened. I did not defend you. I defended my laws. He tapped a scroll written in swirling script, pinned to the front of the table. First decrees of Aaron of Neatsal, commander in power and heir. It was a list of immediate revisions to the governing code of Neatsal soldiers. I scanned the list quickly, eyebrows rising higher with each line. The provisions in this scroll prevented Neatsal soldiers from acting as the final authority in judging a JASAD. Only if the soldier's life would be forfeit were they permitted to use fatal force. And while I was reading that for the first time, I was like, but fucking no. But no, because you just watched a man get murdered in front of you. Adel, the old man, who, yes, he like kind of expressed his powers and the soldiers near him got thrown, but they were not in immediate danger. He was running away. His back was turned. He was running away from these soldiers, and they threw a dagger at him and killed him. The next line made me laugh. Quote, any physical or emotional mistreatment of JASAD captives, including but not limited to beating, tying, cutting, spitting, baiting animals to attack them, sexual threats, sexual violence. I snorted. Vaughn would sooner sexually touch a dead fish. Oh my God. There's just so much in this book that is nonsensical. He laid hands on a captive. His intentions are irrelevant. My teeth dug deep enough into my lower lip to draw blood. Stop calling me a captive. I am here by choice. You just fucking tried to run and they still are keeping you. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? I thought it would make it easier for you. Thinking of yourself as a captive might remove some of the guilt of betraying your own kind, or is guilt beyond you? I mean, for once, I'm agreeing with Aaron. He thought he could prod at my loyalties, but I had none. Not anymore. Where loyalty might have existed lived only an echoing regret. Niyar's ashen face as he bid me to flee. Polly's scream behind me. My mother assassinated alone in her tower. The bodies I had never buried. Loyalty meant nothing when it was for the dead. I, like, why? Okay, so why would I, why do I give a shit about her? Why would I care about this character? She has no loyalty. She's only out to help herself. She's betraying her own kind to do so. She's saying she's not there as a captive. She's there of her own free will. Why are we supposed to support her? I get people's big complaints, too much self-insert. People are too self-insert about characters. But it's like, I still think that there needs to be a more interesting motive for a character than, I don't know what this motive is. She's just there to get her to get herself freed. But then that maybe could be something, but she's going to go, she's going to go ahead and fall in love with the commander of this army and nation that is destroying her people, that destroyed her home and all of her family. I hated this pretty much from this point on. I really hated this character. I hated her because she was a coward. She was a turncoat. She sold out her own people. She was selling out her own people for her own selfish gain. And but instead of acknowledging that that's what's going on, we're trying to paint it like there's some kind of, there's, I guess, a rationale, but I still don't think that it's not a strong enough motive for me to give a shit about her as a character. I'm sorry. I really just, I don't really understand her as a character, and I certainly don't understand why that would then also make it okay for her to turn around and fall in love with this guy who wants to and is actively trying to murder and kill people like her. Because later she'll say she would never agree to help him hurt her own people. So it's like, what is it? Which is it? All that aside, she read the decree, first decree. She had a conversation with Aaron about it. Uh-oh. He's like flustering her and she's doing a terrible job. And then he hits her with the fucking, draw four, baby. That little card in his back pocket. That the scroll that he had her read, the first decrees of Aaron of Neatsal, is in Old Neatsalan. Tell me, Sylvia of Meher, how does a nobody in JASAD learn to read Neatsal's old tongue? What? He jerked my arms, pointing me toward the scroll pinned to the table. First decrees of Aaron and Netzal, commander and power and air. Horror washed over me in thick waves. The entire decree was written in a language Netzal had not spoken in 200 years. Bitch, what? What? What do you mean? You just read that in front of him and you didn't pick up? You couldn't tell? You were so flustered by maps? That's the fucking bullshit that it says too, is that she was so excited by the maps that she somehow forgot or didn't realize that she was giving away the fact that she was reading an old Netzal language that hasn't been spoken in 200 years. That she, of course, knows because she was the JASAD heir. What is that fucking nonsense? That is nonsense. What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? First off, look, I am not bilingual. So maybe this is a multilingual thing when you know that many fucking languages, it starts to be a situation. I'm not bilingual. But I do know how to read a bit of French and Spanish. You better believe that when I see a fucking French word that I understand, I still recognize it as French. Because maps. Because she was so overwhelmed by maps. You know how when we see maps, we're like, oh my God, maps. I'm so overwhelmed. I'm struck by maps such that it renders me idiotic. She goes out to the river. It's just her and this one guard. A ball of tightly packed dirt hit the water and exploded in my face. Physics? What? How does that? A lump flew into my mouth. I hacked, pounding my chest, and lost my balance. That's not what balls of dirt do if you throw them into a river. Unless you put an explosive into the middle of the ball of dirt. Who's she fished out by? Sepha and Merrick. Those two are back again. They're there to rescue her. They have devised this plan that should never have worked, but somehow it worked exactly right. They've got her. They're swept. The guard didn't follow her immediately. And she says no. She's only been in this underground kind of tunnel for less than 2 weeks. Less than 2 weeks. And she's already willing to just not take the opportunity for an escape with her friends that she trusts. She's not going to even try to escape. And because they stand around and argue like idiots, the guards catch up with them. And then they've got them all. But, okay, great point here. Quote, they would die. They would be put into a wagon for Netzal and never reach their destination. That's Sylvia talking about what would be the treatment of Netzalans by Netzal. And these are, so you fully understand what kind of place Netzal is, what kind of person Aaron is, the commander of these forces. And you're just willing, what are we doing? The guards are there, Aaron's there, Sepha and Merrick are there. Sylvia ends up being able to use, Aaron's talking about like killing Sepha and Merrick or something. She's able to use her magic a little bit. She is able to do the slow time thing, and she ends up with a dagger, and she's got it against Aaron. So she does another bargain. And this time she bargains to have Aaron keep Sepha and Merrick there in the underground warren of tunnels because, as she explains, she cares about them. She knows that they will draw out her magic and he can use them as bait, basically. So he agrees. And she lets him go. And then he gives her his coat, and apparently that's supposed to be like this epic love moment. I'm so far beyond it. I'm so over it. And it hasn't even really gotten started, but it's been telegraphed for no reason. There's been no actual real tension about them as leading up to being love interests, that I've seen it coming from a mile away, and I have just been dreading it the whole time. I know it's coming because nothing else would make her behavior make sense at all. And it's not that it's been set up in a way that makes it satisfying or sensible or in line with what the origin of the narrative is. No, not at all. It's just this narrative, this plot has been ground up in a fucking blender and dumped out, and all the little individual pieces have just been formed into exactly what the author wanted to happen, which is this really, really poorly formed romance, instead of actually allowing these ingredients to take shape and to become kind of what would make sense. It's a mess. It's almost as much of a mess as that analogy was. Sylvia she just continues to be absolute dog shit at playing anything cool whatsoever. She just has no ability to play it cool. They're eating, and she gets these berries in a bowl, and she recognizes these berries and throws the bowl, because apparently they're berries that used to be served in JASAD. It's been 10 years, but also people are watching you. Why are you throwing bowls of berries around like an absolute goose? A silly, deranged goose. Another time where she goes out, is able to get back up into the forest with one guard, and the guard ends up going to the river, and then he is all of a sudden just being held under the water. And she looks around, and a woman appears, and she's a Jasadi woman. She's doing this. She's holding this guard under the water. Sylvia, in her internal monologue, is like, oh, the Mufsids, the Jasadi group Aaron claimed, left more dead Jasadi bodies in their wake than his soldiers. Are you listening to the words that you're thinking? He's using all of the dead bodies left by his soldiers as a metric, because there's so many of them. This is the first time in the whole book that she has been able to speak with another Jasadi person at all since the book has started. This is the first time that they have been able to speak, and they're speaking alone. And instead of asking any questions, instead of trying to investigate anything at all, she treats this woman with disdain and overall a lack of interest. She's just shows no interest in actually trying to understand this perspective of this woman who is part of a Jasadi rebel group, what she's gone through, get more information, understand the situation better for her sake. Nothing. She just basically, the woman again tries to rescue her. She says no. I couldn't. I don't need to. I'm actually, I'm doing my own thing. I'm doing my own project. It's covert. I'm undercover. I'm doing a thing with Aaron. She convinces her that she is knowingly doing this, even though we know that she's not, because we're in her stupid head. So the Jasadi woman eventually, reluctantly allows her to, leaves her, even though she's saying, I want to rescue you, and I'm part of the Mufsids. And actually, some of the Mufsids do not support us helping you because they think that you are not worth helping, or they question your loyalty. And obviously, we know they fucking should. She has no loyalty. As soon as that's over, the guard is okay. The woman disappears. As soon as that's over, she runs and she just tells Aaron every little morsel. Just gives him all the information. God, give me a different character. If you want to have this as one of the characters, great, but give me one character that's acting in a way that shows any amount of strategy, awareness, intellect, principles. Quote, you chose to stay here in this stone prison, training for a tournament that has roughly 2 in 3 chances of killing you, he said, disbelieving. The Mufsids have evaded me for years. They're your best chance at hiding from Felix and me. Why would you stay? I set my jaw. I told you, I am here by choice. I chose my freedom, and you are my best chance at achieving it. At the cost of your own people? They are not I caught my breath, horrified. Roviel's tainted tomb. I had almost said it, almost spoken a secret worse than Asiya, worse than Hanim. Why should I owe them my life? Why is it acceptable for others to choose themselves, but it is selfish when I do it? I didn't ask for this. I do not want it. It's not just that you're not giving your own people any scrap of loyalty, any semblance of respect. You are actively helping their sworn enemy gather them up and kill more of them. That's very different than just not even helping them. You are actively hurting them. He stood, and I caged my breath. If someone's sword ever brought this man to his knees, they would never bring him low. His power did not come from magic or status, but from an unassailable sense of self. This is how she's talking about her true enemy, and we're at page 221 out of 476. We are halfway through. That's already how she's talking about this person, even though nothing has been done to redeem him. There has been nothing done to actually create a balance of power, so this seems more like a reasonable choice. Nothing. She's just already talking about this. And first off, I want to say his power actually does not come from an unassailable sense of self. It comes from the fact that he belongs to an overly militarized kingdom that has destroyed her own kingdom and is patrolling every single other one and terrorizing them. That's where his power is coming from, baby. And also he has magic, even though we're not going to call it magic. I mean, it's not a sense of self, Sappho and Merrick come in at some point, and Merrick says something about them being in a lover's spat, her and Aaron. So the whole entire group, everybody there just knows that they've got like this cute little infatuation going on, and they're like, it's gotten to such a point that they're all just kind of joking about it. It's so bizarre. Anyways, Aaron gets like triggered by that, and he hurls a dagger at Sappho, an innocent in this whole situation. Straight up hurls a dagger at her. And of course, Sylvia is able to stop it with her magic because she cares a lot about Sappho. And so she is able to get the dagger out of the air, and turn it on Aaron. She's got him with a dagger. And of course, she's like making threats, but her threats at this point are fucking empty. They're useless. We know exactly how she's going to behave. She has no moral upset with selling out her own people. She believes everything Aaron says. She's willing to help him always. Why would she then suddenly grow a pair and actually fight back against him or actually do any harm? She won't. So it's just like these moments of tension, they don't do anything. They don't actually create any tension. They're hollow. He says at one point that they're going to have to go back. She's going to have to go back to Meher. He's like forcing her to go back to the place that she called home for 5 years. Turns out that they were only 6 hours away. And of course, Sappho and Merrick could have told him that. They walked there. She's on her own. She goes to Rory's. She's talking to him. And it turns out that Qaeda Hanim, who she lived with for 5 years immediately after the Blood Summit, hated her family. And in fact, Hanim was actively plotting with Supreme Rawain, Aaron's dad, to attempt to infiltrate and harm Sylvia's family from within. And then Sylvia's family find out, and they exiled her. So she was exiled before the events of the Blood Summit. And wouldn't Sylvia know that? Wouldn't then she also be a little bit suspicious about spending time with her? Because why else had your family exiled this political figure? Shouldn't that have been a hint? We are well underway, but it's made clear, even more clear at this time. This very distressing development for me, which is that what Nitzal is doing, we're initially told it's bad, but actually JASAD was so corrupt and so evil that it somehow makes what Nitzal is doing okay, or what Nitzal did, it makes it okay. One injustice does not justify another. I hate that this is such a big part of the narrative. And it is. It's happening for ages. Usur JASAD was my favorite. Aaron steered his horse around a dead bird. It was a marvel. Without magic, the southern wing would have collapsed. He shook his head. A shame, its loss. I could not believe my ears. Breaking your cart's wheel is a shame. Coming home to find the good fruit's been eaten is a shame. What happened in JASAD was an atrocity. Yes, bitch, I agree with you. Why have you been behaving the way that you have with this man? What happened in JASAD was well deserved. Deserved? Your father reveled in JASAD's ruins, razed what was left of the palace to the ground. You don't have a clue what happened in JASAD. Is that right? Enlighten me. Was there a second kingdom your father gutted? I have allowed you to persist in your delusions of persecution long enough. We are not amoral executioners, and Jasadis are far from innocent. How much have you heard about the enchantment Malika Palia cast over Omalian fields to rot their crops and sicken their livestock? Entire villages starved to death. One need only look as far as the last Malik and Malika, who killed their own daughter's lover, the father of her child. This is her parents. Because an alliance with Omal meant an end to their blood-soaked prosperity. They threw the JASAD heir in a tower to silence her when she demanded they cease their mining operations in Jasad's wilayas. Jasadis worked in abysmal conditions, died in droves. And why? Because the king and queen wished for more gold and silver to furnish their palace. Well, if you think it's terrible that they fucking strangled soldiers using magic, boy, do I have a lovely little rundown of what your soldiers have done and what you have done. So why do you give a shit about the abysmal working conditions? You're hunting them down. Normal people, not just hunting down the royals, you're hunting down any Jasadi at all, and you're destroying them. So which is it? It's just laughable to have any moral judgment come from Aaron. It's laughable. And then a few pages later, they're like having a scene where she's blushing at his chest because they were attacked by a ruby hound and he got hurt. And she has the opportunity to kill him and she just doesn't. And he points it out and she's just like, meh, meh, meh. She talks to Merrick about Needsall. Quote, the grain stores had run low. Supreme Rowan was commander at the time, and he sent soldiers to quell the violence with more violence. The violence of his own people of Needsall because they were starving to death. Aaron's dad sent soldiers to beat them into submission. This is the person who 10 seconds ago was complaining to her because her Jasadi people use their magic in immoral ways to attack the neighboring kingdoms. Everybody here sucks. Yes, okay, great. Every single person in this entire world, except for Farrell, sucks. Is that the point? Merrick tells the story about a Jasadi rebel group, that broke into a Needsall prison to try to liberate some of their fellow Jasadis that were being held there and rescue some people. And that Aaron was attacked during this process when he was 16. This is Sylvia talking about this. How bad must the attack on Aaron have been to still haunt his guards a decade later? What? Why are you sympathizing with him in this situation? You are the Jasadi heir. Is nothing worth fighting for in your mind? The next day, she's training on the mat. Who shows up? Vaughn, basically Jack Barlow. Nobody's around. Aaron's not around. He's beating her ass down. He wants to beat her to death in this scene. She realizes the only way she's going to be able to survive is if she can kind of like bait him so that he acts out of rage. What does she talk to him about to get him angry? She just starts talking about the fact that she and Aaron have a sexual relationship that they don't have, but she's talking about it. And so we get this quote, "Never again," he growled. He took a fistful of my hair, jerking my head back. "Lying whore. He wouldn't. No, never again." So, great. So Aaron, not only is he a piece of shit commander who cannot, understand that he has no moral high ground in this situation, he also has a fucking thing for the women that he is hunting down, and he likes to have sexual relationships with them. And of course her magic expresses. And this time, it's not any of the magic that we've seen before. Now she's able to blast off in flames. Flames erupt all around them both and burn Vaughn, but she's okay. And Aaron materializes, and she has a dagger up to Vaughn, and she could fucking kill him, and she should, and she just doesn't, and I'm pissed. Aaron comes to help her heal, because I guess his touch amplifies her power, even though it shouldn't. He has to physically touch her to do it, and she expresses disgust, and she says, "The puppet must remain pristine for its master." Girl, which one is it? You just spent multiple pages telling us you're here of your own free will. So are you here of your own free will, or are you his puppet? Aaron dismisses Vaughn for what happened, which, okay, I guess. I mean, we're again supposed to think that this is somehow this really, gentlemanly act of him or something that indicates how much he cares about her. But it's also like, if he really needed her for this, this Alcala, he's her champion, and he's got a guard who keeps trying to fucking kill her. then I guess it just makes sense to not have that guard around. It's not like you have a shortage of soldiers. Finally, we leave the underground torture or the underground fortress. We are going to Lakub for the Alcala. It is so deep into the story that this actually starts. They pass by these wells in the ground outside of Lakub that the Sultana uses to torture traders. The Sultana, we meet her. She's beautiful. She's elegant. She does sound really interesting. She's one of the better characters, I thought. And she clearly likes toying with people for her own enjoyment, and there's no limit to that. She will do just about anything. Also doesn't know Sylvia's true identity as the JASAD heir, and she baits Sylvia with a conversation where she's asking if Sylvia has like a husband or lover, which Sylvia falls for immediately because she can't play anything cool ever, not even one time. She has no control over her own emotions. And Aaron reacts weirdly. And it's just like, these two are such idiots. Like, this woman, Veda, the Sultana, will play with you. She is trying to pinpoint weaknesses or soft spots or sensitivities to take advantage of that. And you just like hand that shit over to her on a silver platter. She's going to these balls / dinners / events, and she gets dressed up all in like Neatsall fucking livery and stuff, and Aaron's like, Neatsall colors suit you, and I'm just vomiting in my mouth. Veda takes her to her private chambers and down into a hidden trapped doorway, little like not dungeon, but just kind of cellar almost, which is magical. Veda asks Sylvia to lose the Alcala on purpose, and she basically makes the same offer to Sylvia in this moment as Aaron did, where she's like, if you do what I say, I will give you all of the money that you need. I will give you the resources. You can come here. You can have whatever role, whatever position in my army commander, like in, the higher up level of the army that you want. You will have any house that you want in all of Lakub. You can have, you'll have the guards. It should be a really interesting offer.